بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعليه وأصحابه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته, man.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What's going on, everybody? I mean,
What, Jit?
What's up, man? Assalamu alaikum. How you guys been, man?
Man.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
yeah, for real, man. So, what's our topic of discussion, man?
General.
Yeah,
Just get right into it, bro.
Get right into it. What are you doing? You ain't got a waffle?
Yeah,
We're gonna
for
talk
real.
about gender roles, and this isn't any of that like red pill, blue pill stuff. We're gonna talk about it from an Islamic perspective.
Islamic narrative.
You know, and us, we're young, we're open to correction, but we're gonna talk about from our perspectives as well. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I'm gonna begin this off. I believe in traditional gender roles. I believe in a man being in charge of the household, a woman following the man. I don't understand.
Yeah, hold on.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Like you said, we're open to correction. Like, if we say anything that does go against the Quran and Sunnah, because, like, you know what I'm saying? Even though that's not our intention, we want to have that conversation because we want to know, like, what is the best way to go about, like, you know, being in a relationship with a woman, like if you have a spouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
we're talking about what's ideal here,
Yeah,
what's ideal
exactly.
for a society. Because, you know, there's always exceptions. There's always, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about, I'm not going to go back and forth here forever.
Yeah, you're gonna have
about
hypotheticals.
Yeah,
Exactly.
hypotheticals forever. This is something which is ideal. And a lot of the things I see online, they go into it in extremes. And one thing I'm going to address here now, a lot of people, they ask the question, are men and women equal? And I feel like this is such a stupid, forgive me, I feel like this is such a stupid question, like an unintelligent question. Why are we're asking the wrong questions here? It's like comparing a point guard to a center. It doesn't make sense, right? Men and women, they're
Are different.
Like, yeah, why would you ask
The
that
man is
question?
not like the woman.
Yeah.
The woman's not like the
They're
man.
different. So why is the question, are men and women equal? You're just setting yourself up to have an extreme argument and go on for hours and hours and hours, and it's never going to end.
100%.
Every time I see that question, I'm like, scroll past. I don't really don't waste my time with that.
But we have to
Doesn't matter
understand,
me.
like, equal in terms of what?
Yeah, why is it a competition? Why not think about it like as a family, as a societal unit? As if why are we in competition with each other rather than aiming for a better
Yeah,
goal?
of course, like the man is not like the woman's not like the man. So the man is not supposed to be like, oh, so much better than the woman, and the woman's not supposed to be like so much better than the man. Rather, it's supposed to, when they come together, create something beautiful.
Something even better than a man alone or a woman alone.
But nowadays, we're living in societies where people are like, where women are like, oh, they don't want men at all. Like, they don't want men in society at all. Or they despise men as a whole. Like, they generalize men into a certain category. Then you got men who take advantage of women, who see women as an object, who see women as something that they're not. You know what I'm saying? And it's a fault of both sides, right?
Yeah,
like,
we reject both views.
Yeah, exactly. There are a number of women out there who objectify themselves by, you know, selling their bodies online, and then there are a number of men who make other men look bad, like make the rest of us look bad by, you know, doing things that are not applicable to all men, like cheating and degrading women and treating
let's get
them
this
like,
straight. One person or one does not represent the entire population. Like, let's get that straight right off the bat. And I agree with what you're saying here.
And look, yeah, look, that's something that Islam came to correct, right? Like, because if you look at history, men were always seen as a dominant over women, in some ways very disrespectfully too. But if you look at the way that the Prophet ﷺ, like, he conducted himself with, like, his wives and with his daughters and women around him, like the way he lowered his gaze, the way he never touched a woman. He only spoke to a woman if it was absolutely necessary, that wasn't his wife or his daughter, like any of his non-mahrams. And then also the way that he treated people, like, this was not seen before him, like in the time of, like, Arabia in Mecca, right?
Yeah,
they were able, like,
they were very harsh towards the women.
exactly.
They were very, but when the Prophet ﷺ, we saw
Alayhi
a change in, like, the attitude towards women. Like,
Of course, Allah sent the Prophet ﷺ with Islam to give women their rights, to perfect society, and to protect oncoming generations of women and men.
Exactly.
Yes, gave women these rights, like gave women the right to seek out a divorce, to
this is actually this is a very interesting thing. Like, they were talking about it earlier today in the masjid. Like, pre-Islam, women, they could not file for a divorce if a man, let's say, was abusive, or if a man was, let's say, trash. But Islam, they gives women this right now.
SubhanAllah.
exactly. Like, see, and if you think about it, like, when we speak about something like gender roles, it's not to say, oh, women are only supposed to be doing this and men are only supposed to be doing this. Like, no, there's criteria for certain things. Like, as let's say for men, as a man, yeah, you have to provide. You have to, there are certain criteria you have to meet as a provider for a man if you want to have a spouse, right? You have to be able to provide a place to live, clothing for your woman, that type of stuff, right? But see, you're not required to go over the top. You don't have to spoil her, but that's ideal to give her be able to give your wife gifts and stuff like this so that like, you know, it helps the relationship. If you're only doing the bare minimum, you're not going to go anywhere. There's no progression there. It's the same thing like in your deen, right? If your iman is not trying to progress, you're not going anywhere in life.
100%.
It'll stay at its pace. But for something so big like the deen of Islam, if you want to stay where you're at and just do the bare minimum, that'll eventually like lower you in a sense, because you'll see other people progressing around. It's like if someone's getting rich around you and you're just like, nah, I'm good with my job. You know, I make 50K a year. I'm good. Even though I have opportunities where I can make 6 figures, even maybe 7 figures, that type of stuff. I have these opportunities, but I don't want to do it. If you don't want to do it, you're not going to go anywhere in life.
Yep.
Like it's even, let's say like, I remember people, they used to ask me this question oddly. Look, don't think I'm lying here. Like, oh, do you believe it's the woman's job to look after the family? I believe it's a man and a woman's job to look after their family. Why are you asking me this question? It's almost like they're trying to charge up argument. Like if we live our entire lives in argument and like we're missing the entire point. It's compromisation. Yeah. You're supposed to come to a compromise. You're supposed to feel each like maybe someone, you're not gonna find someone who like, even in any household, you're not gonna find 2 people who are extremely perfect in what they do. But you find people that are extremely compatible and that can fill the holes of one another.
Exactly. Hold on 1 second.
But
they're both supposed to look after the family, but in different ways. Like for example, the men can do certain things that the woman can't do, and vice versa. The woman can do certain things that the man can't do.
And anyone who rejects this is rejecting their own eyes. You're gonna tell me a man can get pregnant? No, I don't think so.
No, for example, like Allah gave the right to the man to be the leader of the household. Like they're not both supposed to be the leader of the household, or it's not supposed to be a 50-50. Like if you're doing 50-50 with your husband, then that is not a man, because you have to understand, right? If you have 2 people driving a car, one steers this way and the other one steers this way, what's going to happen? The car is going to crash.
Yeah.
And so you really think that 2 people are going to run the house 50-50?
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
And on this topic of discussion, people tend to judge man by the same standard that they judge woman, and judge woman by the same standard they judge men. And I don't understand this. They're not the same.
Here, let me tell you this. We're not here to say equality. Islam believes in equity. Right? Because Islam understands that the men and women are different. They play different roles. They have different natures. They're different psychologically, mentally, physically, all the way down to the bone structure. Men and women are going to be different. So when Islam is talking about equity, they know women might need certain things that a man necessarily might not need. Like, for example, right? If let's say you were just by yourself, right? And then there's a single mother with 5 kids. I gave you guys both $300. That's equality, right? But that wouldn't necessarily be fair, right? Yes. And let's say you come from an Islamic perspective, I'd give her more money because in reality, she needs it more, right? And this is more fair.
Understandable.
And like, you got to think about it. Like when it comes back to, let's say the, who inherits the will, like for example, the man, he takes more double what the woman takes, but they don't understand the fact that the man also has to provide for the woman with that money that he's given, and yet whatever money the woman inherits, she doesn't have to take care of the man. That money is hers. He can't touch that.
I 100% correct.
It's the same thing when I've had conversations with people about like, oh, would you want your wife to have a job? And I'm like, man, that's up to her at the end of the day, right? If a woman wanting, or like if I was to have a wife and she wanted to have a job, ultimately, that's up to her because her money is hers. She doesn't have to provide for me. Even if she makes more money than me, it's still my job to provide for her, to provide for the household, right? So, and like, why would I, as a man, even though I could say like, no, I don't want you to have a job. And technically she'd have to listen to me because I have that right? Yeah. But that's abuse of your right. Like that's something you don't want to do because that's not ideal.
And look, understand this. When people ask these questions, they ask it like non-Muslims, when they ask me these types of questions, it's almost like they're doing it like in condescending, and like they're trying to condescend to me and trying to make me out to seem like I'm a bad man. But look, hold on, let me go. In reality, hold on. Dang.
No. This is actually excellent because I love when non-Muslims ask me these types of questions and then we explain it to them, you know, from the way the Prophet ﷺ did it and the way Islam came to do about things. And it's just so beautiful, right? Look, and then they have nothing to say after that other than good. They can never hate on it.
And look, when these non-Muslims, they have these like misconceptions of what like of what a marriage household looks like in Islam, or conversation between men and women looks like, they think that we're some sort of oppressors. But really, even with the Prophet ﷺ, the way he treated his wife, it wasn't like this dominant, obnoxious way. He was very easygoing. And remember, even in there's a verse in Surah Hijab that came down when Allah says, "Oh, the wives of the Prophet, if you wanted the adornments of this life, then you can file a divorce." Yeah,
I know exactly the ayah.
So you can file a divorce. Like, this is, Allah said this because you want to know why this verse was set down? Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't have much. He didn't have, because I remember there's a hadith in Sahih Bukhari. Umar ibn al-Khattab, he asked Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Oh, like, because he saw Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was sleeping on the floor, and he said, "Oh, the Roman leader, they live in lives of luxury, and look at you here, you're the messenger of Allah, Allah's apostle." He said, "You know, this is something so beautiful." He said, "Why will it not satisfy you that they're given this worldly life and we're given the hereafter?" SubhanAllah. And and the Prophet, like, this just shows you the character of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was very easygoing. He said, "If you don't want, you can leave."
Now look, I want you to think about this. He was very easygoing, right? And what was also narrated, the Prophet ﷺ never hit any of his wives nor his children. Think about that. They think Islam is so abusive, but yet the Prophet ﷺ would never beat his wife.
It's actually so beautiful the way they teach it. Like, to be, not for one to be dominant over another, but rather to be easygoing with each other. This is your life partner. Is that not beautiful?
Of course.
Right. It's even more beautiful when you think about how, like, the wisdom behind certain things, like the commandment for both men and women to cover their adornments. This is something that, it keeps, like, as a married person, as a one who has a spouse, it keeps your adornments only for your spouse. Like, nobody will know what you look like except for your husband or your wife. SubhanAllah for that. That's something that's so beautiful to me. Whenever I think about it, I'm like, dang, like, if I cover myself up, my wife is the only person who will ever see me in my life. Like, that I care about to see, like, whatever it is that I have in my body, like, or for herself as well. It's like, dang. And if she goes out and she's covering herself, SubhanAllah, she's doing this for the sake of Allah, because Allah said, don't show off. Don't show off. Don't show your adornments, right? And that was one thing I was talking to you about in the car when we were going to Jummah, was that, part of the reason that women should cover up and men should cover up at the same time as well is to protect us from wanting to show off. Because if we're someone who knows we look good, we'll want to show off our bodies. Why wouldn't we want to do that? If I have a good body, like, if you look at all these people who model clothes and all this type of stuff, they show off their body to sell a product. Their body is part of the product that they're selling, as well as whatever clothes or whatever they're doing, right? So this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is protecting us from by telling us to cover up, telling us to cover up our bodies, right?
Yep.
Like, you see all these gym influencers out there who get in shape, who sell their bodies, make courses, make money off of what they've done to their bodies by showing it off. And we have a better way to do things to make money that will satisfy Allah, rather than degrading ourselves for a quick buck. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say something, but I forgot what I was going to say.
And another thing that I wanted to add to that was, like, something that I just thought of was, a lot of us today, by speaking of gender roles, we like to look at the way that women have to cover up and place a higher grade of sin on them not covering up versus a man not covering up, when in reality, they're the same sin. If a man's not covering his aura and a woman's not covering their aura, that's the same sin.
Yep.
And you can't place a grade on either or. Like, they're both adornments. They're both something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you to cover up, right? So if either one is caught not covering it up, know that you're getting the same sin. And I've seen it. It's so crazy to me. Wallahi, subhanAllah. I've seen it on social media where a dude who's not even covering his aura will go and comment on a woman who's not covering her aura. And I'm like, bro, the hypocrisy right here. How do you know, like, what you're saying? Like, because there will be people on the day of judgment who will say that, like, they used to forbid the evil, right? But they didn't join in the evil that they were forbidding, right? They'd still commit the same harams that they tell people not to commit. And subhanAllah, you have to be very, like, careful of something like that, because I've warned against that before, because I'm always thinking to myself, if I'm going to warn someone about this, am I not doing it? Or will I not do it in the future for me to be able to say this? Because what if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls me a hypocrite?
Yeah, it's like that verse in Surah Al-Baqarah. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
You guys warn people You guys warn people.
You guys remind people while you also recite the
So-
scripture, but yet you're not following it yourselves.
Yes.
Exactly.
أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ.
Like, have you no sense?
Yeah.
Think about that.
SubhanAllah, exactly what I'm talking about.
Talking to the children of Israel.
But look at the other wisdoms of covering up. Like, you also leave yourself, like, if you don't cover, you leave yourself open to evil. Like, you leave yourself open to, let's say, hurting another person's feelings. Like, for example, other people will envy you. Like, imagine if everyone was to cover up, like, there would be less jealousy, less
Instant
envy.
gratification, bro.
Yes, less instant gratification, because a lot of people, what you see on the internet is not always what you see in real life. Like, for example, the biggest one that I could say, like, seeing from like other men is like, let's say when you see a guy on social media with his big gym pump, he's got the lighting right and everything right, but then you see him in real life and he's a twig, and you're like, dude, like, where's all this that was on social media?
Exactly.
Sleeper.
I mean, like, if you're speaking about something like that and instant gratification, you might see someone that you might want to look like, oh, like, look at their body. So you're going to equate the way they look to your happiness, being like, oh, if I look like this, I'm going to be happy. The same way, if you see someone rich on social media, you're going to be like, oh, if I have that, I'm going to be happy. I'm never going to be sad if I have this. That's like when every single time I'm in a comment section and I see someone talking about money, they're like, oh, yeah, man, this guy's got millions. Why is he sad? I'm like, yo, man, not everything is about money. Wallah, subhanAllah, not everything is about that.
And it's always in them comments. I don't know. May Allah forgive me. I'm wasting time reading through those comments, and I always see people are, especially on social media, they'll see a couple, they'll see anything.
Yeah, of course.
It'll be on anything. They'll say, if only I had this, if only I had that, if only I had this. But what people don't realize, and they'll realize soon enough, is your life is tailored for you. Just like their lives are tailored for them. You don't know what struggle they had to do and that you're missing out on to see their blessing.
Exactly. Not everything is as it seems, and you don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, like, that's what happens when you lack contentment. When you're not pleased with what Allah has given you, you're always going to complain and always want more. And you're going to think that if you get this and so and so and so, you're going to be even more happier. But then you find yourself later on, you might get these things on, and then you just want more and more and more. You're going to be chasing the dunya. You know, it's like, I forgot who said it, but anyways, this dunya is like a shadow. Every time you try to chase it, you'll never catch it. But if you turn your back on it, it'll have no choice but to follow you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, speaking of like these things that we're talking about, like social media, instant gratification, this type of stuff, it goes for, you know, those Muslim couples who are getting married nowadays. And then you have people who are seeking out to be like them. Like, no, be like yourself. Be who you are. You know, maybe if it's not your turn right now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you something even better than them. Your happiness will not equate to theirs, right? Your happiness can be on a different scale than theirs, because you can't measure your life to someone else's, because then you're just comparing yourself your entire life. And that is a life of failure. If you sit there looking at your life through the eyes of other people, like, there's a reason why you don't see yourself the way that other people see you. Like, the way I look at you right now, that's not how you see yourself. I can't see myself the way you see me, because the way I see me is way different than what anybody else will see. And that's the way that you have to live your life. Don't live your life living through somebody else's lens. That's not going to get you anywhere in life.
100%. Like, look, for example, you have people who are married at 19, divorced by 20. You have people who are married at 30, but then they're married all the way to the day that they die. You have people who are born rich, but then they end up broke and homeless when they grow up. And then you have other people who become rich at 25 and are able to feed generations of their children. Be grateful for what you have. You know, Allah has given you what you have. You know, don't look at other people's situations and wish that was yours.
SubhanAllah.
And one thing I wanted to ask was, like, I remember seeing a video. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was some woman on TikTok. She's asking, like, I think she was asking men about, like, oh, is hijab a requirement? Like, if they were to get married. Some people were saying, like, no, it's not a requirement. Some people were saying it's a bonus. Some people were saying, yes, it is a requirement because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded it. I want to know, what is your take on that, like, hijab being a requirement
For marriage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Let me adjust your question. Hijab's not a requirement for marriage. It's a requirement for life.
From the beginning.
It's a requirement for life. That's just how
I'm
it is.
saying for you to get married to a woman.
It's, first off, like, Jordy, you're not disobeying me or disobeying Allah. Like, this is crazy. That's a crazy standard here. And I believe everyone has their own stories. Everyone has their own journeys. But I believe this is an extremely opinionated question. And I believe, yeah, of course it's a requirement.
100%, I believe it's a requirement. And it's also my job is, like, let's say the mahram, to advise her to wear the hijab, right? Because if I don't advise her, then I'm also sinful for that too. I'm also responsible. I'm also liable.
Yeah, if you don't advise her. But one thing I was trying to get into with this question was that a lot of people throw this term around not knowing what it means, and that is the term of Dayooth. People think that, oh, if your wife doesn't wear hijab, you're automatically a Dayooth, but they don't understand what that means. No, if your wife doesn't wear hijab, even though you advise her, then that's on her at that point. But if you don't advise her, you lack ghira. That's not a dayooth. If you lack ghira, yeah, that's still a sin because you need to have some protective jealousy of your wife, right? But dayooth is a whole different type of sin. It's major, way more major than lacking ghira. And people don't understand what that means.
You want me to give you an example?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, for example, a man who lets another man enter his wife.
Yes.
This is a perfect example of a dayooth.
That's the book definition. That's the sahih definition.
Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ said.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the man who lets his woman go out without hijab. That's not the one who lets her go out with revealing clothes. Not the one who lets her go out with perfume, but the one who lets another man enter his wife.
Yes. So we're speaking about, those.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're letting your wife sleep around, that's the type of thing we're talking about. If you have an open marriage, open relationship, that type of.
SubhanAllah, even like think about in the time of Islam and the time of the Sahaba, this wouldn't even be a thought to like think of. Like that's ridiculous.
I mean that was a crazy time too, though. You got to think about it.
Man, look, crazy things happen all the time.
No, you want to know how I know this? Umar ibn al-Khattab. This is in the same hadith that I mentioned earlier in Sahih Bukhari. Hafsa, his daughter, the one that's married to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he found out. Hafsa said, I remember I was reading it. She said word for word, by Allah, I've argued with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like in their marriage. She said, and Umar ibn Khattab, he got angry. Now this is like really insightful because it shows you the relationship with the father-in-law to his daughter and his son-in-law. Like it shows you that like. The marriage is especially for a pious person, and this is the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. He was angry. He said, "Why would you argue with him? There's no way. May you be humiliated. Like, there's no way. How can you argue with him? That's your husband." Like, this was something that's not even thinking. Now think about another man entering your wife. Like, what the heck? Imagine that coming across like in the time of the Sahaba.
I mean, there's a reason why he had to speak about it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so maybe it's obviously not unheard of. But maybe it was a wisdom for us, for the people who to come or something. You like, this is not something that we would actually have the knowledge on, but the fact that it's there, it helps us understand because this term is thrown around all over social media for a reason that people don't understand. And like, it's the same, it's not the same, but it falls along the lines of like calling your Muslim brothers and sisters specific names. Like imagine you takfir someone, like that's a major sin. If you takfir someone without actually having proper knowledge on it, or you call someone a munafiq without having proper knowledge on it, because this is alim al-ghayb. You don't know what Allah's judgment is, so you can't pass that type of judgment on someone, right? So and then if you don't have the witnesses necessary to call someone a dayooth, you can't be doing that, especially if you don't know what it means. Like this is where proper knowledge has to come in. And I'm not saying, oh, I'm the most knowledgeable guy. I'm saying like I had to do research about this. I've never called someone a dayooth, but I kept seeing it. I was like, man, what the heck? Like I kept saying, oh, I'm not gonna be labeled a dayooth. And I did not know that this is only what it's tied to. And because everybody just throws it around saying it's just this. If your wife doesn't cover up, you're a dayooth. And like when you know that a dayooth will not come near Jannah, that scares a man. Like you're just sitting there like, oh, see, now you have to think, do I have to force my wife to wear hijab?
Should I not get married?
Yeah, exactly.
Should I not get married because of the threat of being called a dayooth by people all over social media?
Exactly. It's like, I'm like, yo, if a dayooth is never going to go near Jannah, and these people are calling like, oh, if your wife doesn't cover up, you're a dayooth. Like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I can't force her to do it. But la ikraha fi ddin, there's no compulsion in religion. I can't force her to do that. What the heck? What type of man would I be? That's not even a man at that point, man.
That is scary.
Hey, exactly. Like
that's frightening.
You see what ignorance does.
Yeah, that's
ignorance. That's very like that, because that ignorance is spreading throughout the like social media around the Muslim community like a plague. Like if you let ignorance win, then we lose.
It's like we fall. It's like someone committing a sin online, and then they call them a kafir because they committed a sin online.
I don't know.
I've seen this all happen too. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the crazy part.
That's crazy.
Like for example, someone's listening to music, they'll be like, "Oh man, only kafirs do this," and like, you want to be amongst the kafirs? I'm like, what the heck?
I don't know. Look, this might. I'm probably wrong for saying this, but this is just a feeling that I have. I don't know. I can't help it. If I was on social media and like perhaps like I'm not married, but if I had a wife and I was on social media and she was covered up and she showed her face and someone called me a dayooth or someone said tell your wife to cover her face or something, I'll be so like, it was a man, I'll be so angry at that person. Like, why are you thinking my wife in this sort of way? That's my job. That's my job. You could tell me like, oh, brother, like you could maybe privately message me saying, oh, brother, like I fear for you or something like this. But but I'll be angry. I'll be like, why are you thinking about her? Like are you stupid? Like, I'll smack you up. I don't know, but that's just a feeling I have. Maybe perhaps I'm wrong.
No, what you're saying, like I agree with you because what's it called? Like even what you said, like just a little example that you gave, like if he was to message you privately, brother, I fear for you. Well, that's SubhanAllah. If someone said that to me, well, I'd be like, man,
I'd be
that's
like,
my brother.
I'd be like, that's my brother. But you saying
if I were to see someone in comments talking about this, like
someone saying
like,
tell your wife to cover her face, I'd be like,
or if they just were to call you a Dayooth for something like that, I'd be like, dang, bro, like chill, dog. Like she's a Muslim too. What the heck, bro? Like,
bro, 90% of those people that say that and like that try to come off as assertive or dominant across the comment section would not say that to your face in real life. That's also something you have to think about. That's one of the effects of social media. They're gonna sit there, they're gonna play the comment games, they're gonna be all keyboard warrior, but they'll never pull up and say it to your face.
I just want to know, like, if someone was to say something like that, right? And you go to the masjid and you see the woman, like, what are you going to say? Are you going to tell them, hey, go cover your face? Like, what
of course, because they know it's absurd. They know that's it's impractical. It's not.
Yeah, it's not something that it's not. You're supposed to be easygoing.
Exactly.
You're supposed to make an excuse for something like this, or maybe they're struggling with something.
To 70 excuses.
Yeah, who knows? Something like that.
Bring some good wisdom behind it if you're going to say something like that. But don't like
if you're going to say something like this, keep this in mind. Imagine you wrongfully did that to someone. Imagine like the interrogation on the day of judgment that you're gonna get,
and they don't forgive you.
Yeah, imagine and وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ نَسِيًّا. Your Lord never forgets.
He never forgets.
So that little comment that you make, that little comment that might ruin someone's day or make them insecure about themselves. Think about that.
What Sheikh Asim said, man, it still will stick with me. Anytime if someone wrongs me, bro, I don't gotta forgive you. Like.
You will pay.
On the judgment. On day of judgment, it's on you.
Wait, is that what Sheikh Asim?
Yeah, he said you will pay for committing such a felony against your Muslim brother.
Like, bro, but it's not saying like, oh, I'll never forgive someone if they wrong me. It's to say like, if you think about it like that, you'll be very careful about the things that you do, the things you say, the actions you do against other people, right? So like, if you were to say something mean to someone online, thinking that, I said something right because I advised them, they shouldn't be doing this haram. But you did it in a harsh way, so perhaps you hurt them, you maybe push them further away from their deen a little bit or something like that, or like the waswas from shaitan got to them because of your comments, that type of stuff, they don't have to forgive you. And if you were to think about something like that, you'd be very careful about the things that you address online.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I've seen a couple of videos of people who have advised very like, what's it called?
They've done
it very well.
Like
I'll comment and be like, yeah, man, I totally agree. Because they'll be like, I messaged them privately, but they didn't respond. So now I'm here to make this video to tell you guys, like, I just want to warn you guys. I want to warn the brother. Like,
there's some guys on TikTok, man, or on TikTok or on YouTube, man. I'll be like, wow, Allahumma barik. These guys are so well spoken. I just love to see them. I just love to see them speak. And it's just like Allahumma barik. But then there's But even so, even though we're discussing this topic, it's very rarely that I'll see someone who I'll see them speak. And I'll be like, dude, what the heck is this? It's very rare though. It's very rare to me.
I'm not gonna say, you're completely wrong. I'm just be like, bro, I would have just worded it differently because the way you said it, it's very open to misconception. Like a lot of people could take your words differently. Like, and that's happened to us before. It's happened to me where I've said something and people will be like, they'll try to tell me what I meant, and I'm like, bro, that's not what I meant. Don't try to tell me what I meant. Like, exactly. This is the type of thing I'll be talking about. Is like, don't assume something before you actually know everything, right? Because that's not for you. That type of knowledge does not lie within the human being. Like the human being is not capable. Yeah, you're not capable to understand what someone has in their mind, like what someone has in their heart, what their intentions are, right? And if something is said, you can't twist whatever they were saying. Like this is something that happens a lot in social media, which is why like we have to be very careful. And that's one thing that like I was thinking about the other day. Why do we never stitch videos or make responses to certain people who say certain things? And I'm just like, man, there's not much for me to say.
Yeah, I thought it was really just, social media is huge. There's a lot of truth, there's a lot of falsehood. If people believe what they want to believe at the end of the day, and they say what they want to say, if they want to, a lot, like, I remember when we know what we're talking about, when we saw a lot of those videos, a lot of those stitches, we didn't respond back to them because I don't want to, there's no need, if they're going to respond to us in negativity, it's not beneficial if we respond to them in negativity additionally. That's too negative. And plus there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth on social media. If people are really willing to look, they can find it.
Yeah, like y'all remember like the debates and stuff like that. People made like that video that was made about us that made us look bad, made us look like we didn't know what we were talking about, even though we knew what we were talking about. Then we go on live again and they're telling us like there's people on our side in our comments, but then on the other person's comments, they're on his side. It's not gonna work. Who cares? At that point, you have people on your side.
The truth is, it's not even about sides.
The truth is clear from falsehood. That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not worried about whether you think I'm truthful or you think they're truthful. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. At that point, I leave it up to Allah. That's like one thing that I was thinking about. I was like, man, for one, if I'm not 100% knowledgeable on a topic, I'm not going to speak on it. I really don't care. I'm not going to give my 2 cents, my opinion, nothing like that. Because especially if it's something Islamic, I don't have time for all that. Because I don't have time for someone to come into the comments and tell me like, oh, what I said, like, actually, it's this. I'm like, nah, bro. I'm going to be very embarrassed. So.
And it is what it is. I mean, we make mistakes. I mean, we correct it easily, but we don't want to speak on things we don't have 100% knowledge
if we don't have the
certainty.
knowledge, what's the point? Like, I'd rather keep like the videos that we make to like between us, like not making responses or whatever, this and that. Like that type of stuff is not needed, right? Like,
I mean, look, I'm thinking about how many times we were thinking about stitching this video, this and that, but we never did. We're just like, whatever. It's not worth it.
Exactly.
Like we have other things to talk about.
We'll speak about the video in private. Just be like, this is what we would say.
Yeah,
and then
man, oh my God.
Like,
man, it's actually kind of crazy if you would hear some of the things we would have been saying.
like, I mean, no, a lot of the stuff it's very good what we'd say.
No,
like,
but exactly.
If I were to see the video of some of the things that we would have like responded to, I would have been like, damn, bro.
If we could just get like a compilation of all the stitches we would have gave, it would have been crazy.
Yeah, that's just. I think that could serve as a lesson for anybody out there who's listening or who's watching. That like,
sometimes it's better to leave an argument.
Yeah, sometimes it's just better to stay quiet. I mean, that's also a very good trait in a human being. Like, as you know, the Prophet ﷺ, he was very shy and very quiet.
Yeah,
and he never argued.
If you're ever angry, and I know like this is something that was so hard for me too, or all of us, because when we get angry, you know, like sometimes you say what you don't want to say. If you're ever angry, it's best to just stay silent, sit down, lay down.
Said the best of you is the ones
the strongest. The strongest, the one who can control his anger. Yeah, of the men. If you're angry, you can say a word, just one word, or you can say like a phrase, a statement, anything that could take away take away good deeds from you, or like it could hurt somebody. Like when you're angry, things could happen. It can be so spontaneous. You don't even mean it, but you couldn't control yourself.
It could be
you couldn't control yourself.
Like anger can turn into minor shit because you could start thinking of yourself in a different light than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has intended for you. Like when you're angry, like think about it. Like if you were about to get in a fight, you'll start thinking like, oh, I'm the boss, man. Like I'm like, it's me, I'm him type of thing. Like, oh, ain't nobody out here could beat me in these streets or whatever, this type of stuff. Like if you're angry and you're ready to fight someone, you're not thinking, oh yeah, my Lord is going to judge me based on my actions right now. No, you're thinking who you're going to beat up. Mm-hmm. If you're in a situation where, you know, your anger is, I'm just, I don't know why you're looking at me like that. Why you're looking at me like you're confused or something. Like this thought has never ran in your mind where you've been angry and you haven't even thought about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because anger is a killer of iman. Mm-hmm. So why are you looking at me like you're confused? Like you don't know what I'm talking about.
Look, listen, let me just tell you this. Alhamdulillah, we have the solution. The Prophet ﷺ gave a solution. Look, if you're very angry, go make wudu. Change your posture. If you're standing up, sit down. If you're sitting down, go lay down. Mm. Stay quiet. It's not worth it. Know that you'll be judged. Allah is Alimun Khabir.
And with that being said, you know, that's going to close out this episode. So if you're watching, you're listening. I saw someone said, like, thank you to everyone who's watching. So I got to speak on those who listen to the podcast as well. But yeah, Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless all of you for tuning in with us, you know, being patient with us. You know, we want to record a lot more videos. So, you know, inshallah, that'll come soon. But with that being said, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
All right, guys, just a reminder, we're still students of knowledge. We're not scholars, nothing like that. So if we make any mistakes, we're open for correction. And we appreciate you guys for watching this. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family. You never know whose life you can change. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.